Hi guys, welcome to another Friday Tips with Fenz. Just been going over some data of a particular rider who's targeting a marathon event coming up, and really made me think about highlighting the specificity in one's training to target a specific event. We've talked about this briefly, but how do we actually do that? What do we actually do, and what can we see in the data that will uncover whether we are actually targeting the demands and meeting the demands of what we're after? So one of the ways in which I do this as a coach is to look at power cadence relationship and what we call a scatter graph. Within the scatter graph, it's basically what we call a quadrant analysis. We can look at how much power has been produced and at what pedal revolutions it's been produced. So to give you an example of that, a time trialist tends to produce their power in a very tight cluster on a normal time trial type course. That means that their power is quite high, but produced in a relatively small range of cadence. Conversely, if you looked at a road rider, for instance, riding a general road race, that scatter would be a lot broader. It would have periods of high power and high cadence. It would also have periods of high power, low cadence, as well as low power, low cadence, and low power, high cadence. So a much bigger scatter of overall power output. So you can imagine that if you want to target the specifics of a particular event, we need to make sure that we address those specifics. So again, for my marathon rider coming up, marathon events tend to be, relatively good solid climbs. Now those climbs can be quite steep on the mountain bike, therefore we would assume nowadays with 1x11 that we may get into situations where we're at quite low cadences producing quite high power outputs. So therefore we need to make sure that we target some of our climbs while we're training, and if that's on the road bike as well as the mountain bike, that we're addressing climbing at low cadence and high power. That really targets the neuromuscular demands of that particular event. They would then be interspersed with periods of no pedaling while you're going down the big downhills. So, again, being very specific to the demands of that event is super important. And, with analysis tools like today's plan, it gives us a real advantage to be able to delve right into, and fine tune what underpins performance. All right, guys, hope that gives you a little bit of insight into training for marathon racing and training in general. I hope to catch you on the trail. Bye-bye. And we're going to start to look at specificity in terms of how would you train for certain events. Last week we looked at the fact and talked about the fact that, the human body doesn't know. Our classic periodization model looks at the build from foundation, base, build, peak, race phase, and that might be followed then by